jolly good.
You know, over that hedge, there's life like you've never seen it before. Grass, barbecues, houses, people. These are just some of the few things you will see over that hedge. And there you go, that's life to the good stuff right there, let me tell you. I don't know why I started off like that, but there you go. There you go. I don't know. I don't know. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clank Zoker. Welcome to another My Thoughts. Today, I'll be talking about Over the Hedge, the second film that Lewis Harbert wants me to talk about after Blue Sky's Robots. And like Robots, I have not seen this film in a very long time. It's been very, very long. This came out in 2006. It's directed by Tim Johnson, who directed the first feature film from DreamWorks, that is Ants, and later Home as well. And this is also co-directed, directed also by Kerry Kirkpatrick, who directed Smallfoot. He was also one of the writers for Chicken Run 2, and screenplay by, for the Smurfs 2, Spiderwick Chronicles, Charlotte's Web, Hoodwinked, Hitchhiker's Guide, even The Little Vampire as well, Road to El Dorado as well. He's worked on quite a lot of familiar material, I must say. And apparently he worked on that Phineas and Ferb movie too, so he has knowledge on animation, and he works on quite a lot of it. So, yeah, Over the Hedge. Remember that movie? Well, the answer to that question is, it kind of depends, really, because this DreamWorks film doesn't seem to be talked about as much as Madagascar and all that, and I can kind of see why, but I can also see why, people actually like this movie, and yeah, so let's talk about it. By the way, I'm not going to talk about its source material. I think it's based on a couple of comic strips. I could be wrong on that. I never read them, so I don't know. So this film is about a raccoon named RJ. He's voiced by Bruce Willis, and he accidentally loses lots of food to a hungry bear named Vincent, who's voiced by Nick Nolte. So what does he have to do? Try and get the food back in order for him to not get eaten by Vincent. He gets some help, of course, by a couple of woodland creatures led by Vern, voiced by the late Gary Shandling, who thinks that, RJ's up to no good because his tail's tingling, and you got Hammy, voiced by Steve Carell, pre-Despicable Me Steve Carell, as Hammy the Squirrel, the crazy one. You got the sassy Wanda Sykes, who plays Stella, who's just sassy Wanda Sykes. William Shatner being overly dramatic and over the top as Ozzy. You've also got Lou and Penny, who these hedgehog parents played by Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hare. And there's more to come to. There's the Verminator named Dwayne, voiced by Thomas Hayden Church, who also goes after them after they try to steal lots of food from the house of Gladys, voiced by Alison Janney. However, Vern has a very suspicious feeling that RJ might be up to something. But the other gang are very relentless to just say yes to what he does. It's one of those films, let me tell you, and however, as the film would go on, RJ starts to experience something that he probably never experienced before. Family. I've not seen this film in a long time, and I think the last time I watched it was 5 years ago, Netflix probably, or maybe it was 4, I don't know. So, how's the writing for the film? Well, it's pretty ordinary, to say the least. It's just woodland creatures steal food, and then something happens, and then wacky stuff happens, and that's kind of the best way to describe the film itself. There is so much going on that's so wacky, over the top, and quite silly, to be quite frank, but it does make up for it because this film is pretty fun. The writing's nothing special, it's your typical main character, for some reason, I don't remember what the reason is, he helps these creatures to get food. However, at the same time, he's also lying. And this is not really a spoiler. He tells them what he did by just spilling the beans like that. Not purposely, just by accident. It's like, they're going to hate him, and then he's going to come back, and then they're sorry, and then he has to find a way to rescue them. It's one of those films. This film is so predictable. It's not even original. It's just very cliched and very wash, rinse, repeat. It's been done better in other things before, so no originality there. And in terms of concept, the film's not all that original with talking animated animals. I mean, this film did come out within the same year of Nickelodeon movies Barnyard, Sony's first animated flick, if you don't count Monster House, open season. Hell, it even feels similar to Madagascar, only kind of less fun and hilarious. However, compared to like Barnyard and to open season, this is better written than both films can. Well, Barnyard's writing is not great, but it does make up for a rather wacky and kind of unintentionally scary film, but really fun. Open season's too bland, but in this film's case, it does work. You do want to see what these creatures are up to, and even if you're predicting what's going to happen, it does leave you with something that's not too memorable, but something that will give you a good laugh. And this film is occasionally funny. I did laugh all the way through, and the film does have some very snappy jokes. Although sometimes it likes to rely on good old burp, fart, butt humour, especially with Stella, because she is a skunk. But besides that, it is a very consistently funny film as well. And when it comes to these animals stealing things and all these really crazy action scenes, especially when they get chased by a Rottweiler, I think, the film is a lot of fun in that typical DreamWorks fashion, in terms of wacky humour and very insanely over-the-top chases, and this is exactly like how any animated film would do it. It's not too over the top, but it's over the top at the point where, you can just enjoy it and have fun. That's all I can say, really. But, I thought the writing is not amazingly original, but at least it does make up for how lack of originality and how kind of unfunny it is of it. Sorry. How unfunny the film can be sometimes. It does make up for it. And, it's fine. It's not the most original DreamWorks film, I'll be very honest, but it's one that it's like, you can see where it's going, but, it's perfectly fine. And there's also a few references here and there as well. There's even a reference to I think Citizen Kane? I could be wrong on that. And then they make references in the credits too, which is a bit strange, I'll be very honest. And there's 1 or 2 occasional moments where the humour and the predictability can get a little bit tiresome fast. Like, this is definitely DreamWorks quality, and it does feel very repetitive and tired. But it was funny and then flushed away. The story and its familiar beats does make this film rather tediously predictable to watch and guess, but the humour, the wackiness, and even the sequence of events does make it enjoyable enough just to sit through it just fine. Not too much, but just perfectly fine. Animation. The animation for this film is, how do I put it? Very mid 2000s. Whether that's a good or bad thing is very debatable, but this film, yeah, it still doesn't look that good, even from 2006. Compared to Cars and Monster House, this is probably one of the weaker looking films from that year. DreamWorks, in terms of DreamWorks, it's better looking than Flushed Away, and I know I keep. Excuse me. I know I keep turning back on that film, but in all honesty, it really does. But on the other hand, the animation does look nice. I'll give it that. You know, the characters in terms of textures and designs, they all look pretty neat and convincing. I'll give them that. The movements are a little bit inconsistent and a bit clunky. Like it looks like a student project or something like that, but not awful. Just kind of, yeah, you can tell that the animation was not at its best. And the backgrounds are really nothing extraordinary, but the outside the hedge, well, beyond the hedge, I suppose, the outside world where Vern and his group is, in the woods, it looks very pretty, and the suburban cul-de-sac looks very, very modernly bland, but I guess that's kind of the whole point. All of it looks good from 2006, and even some of the expressions are really funny and really well done. It's just that the animation looks a tad bit dated and a little bit creepy. Like Hammy looks very, very off-putting, and RJ looks a little too bland for my taste. But besides that, this film, even though it's not anything amazing looking, it has just the right amount of goodness to keep it consistent. Visually okay looking, and it has a nice style to it as well. So, but since it can look a little unintentionally creepy and cheap, it's a bit mixed, to say the least. It's definitely not as bad as Shark Tale or I'm trying to think. I guess Ants. Even Ants, I thought, had a clear style to it, but this film looks prettier to look at, I guess. So I'll give it a pass for how it looks, but it's nothing amazing in terms of DreamWorks or animation from 2006. Characters and acting. The only characters in the film that I didn't really like that much was RJ. He kind of acts as the very cocky, know-it-all leader, but in reality he's kind of a screw-up, but also he's a liar. Kind of like Rocky, but maybe not as funny or as memorable as Rocky from Chicken Run. He does get a couple of funny lines, and he is chuckle-worthy, but nothing amazing. Vern is just kind of the same. RJ, you can see, is the trickster, while Vern is like the straight man. He's the one who's saying, no, we should not be listening to this raccoon. And again, he can get some very funny lines, and his chemistry, sorry, ignore that, chemistry with RJ is amusing and very funny. But they're not the best characters. The side characters are. Hammy, who can get a little bit annoying at times, is really funny and wacky. Stella, who's pretty sassy, just like how Wanda Sykes is also really funny too. Ozzy and Heather, the two possums, are really hilarious, especially with the scene where Ozzy has to distract the humans so the other animals can get the food. And that's pretty funny. And the hedgehogs are funny too. Even the humans, I thought, were very over the top and wacky, and they're very funny too. Like Dwayne, who's the Verminator, he's too obsessed with trying to kill these animals that he's kind of a little bit over his head. I kind of like it. It's pretty good. Gladys is a little bit too strict and a little bit too serious, but she does have some funny lines. I'll give her that. And oh yeah, there's also a cat that they own, whose name is Tiger, and he's voiced by Omid Jalil, the English comedian, who's also Trumper from Shaun the Sheep. He's in this as well, and he has some funny lines as well. So the characters, maybe except for the main ones who are okay. The rest are actually pretty enjoyable in their own okay way. And yeah, they can be a little bit stereotypically annoying and they're not deep, but they're fun. And the voice acting, I think, is very solid on everyone's part. Who would have thought Bruce Willis would voice a raccoon? I mean, he did voice Spike from Rugrats Goes Wild, which was very odd and a bit out of place, but his role here does fit more suitably. Gary Shandling's voice is very stern and very... And, I'm trying to think of the word. He's quite stern, but also kind of a little bit like, wow, he's very confused and very curious. Steve Carell is just having the time of his life, just having a blast as Hammy. Wanda Sykes sounds like she's doing good as Stella, and even though it's just Wanda Sykes with her normal sassy voice, William Shatner's nothing special, but he plays it fine. Nick Nolte as Vincent, and Vincent, even though he's not in the film for long, is an okay villain, and even Nick Nolte's pretty okay. Thomas Hayden Church is pretty good as Dwayne, has some funny lines. Alison Jenny, always an absolute delight. Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hare, even I'm going to try and pronounce her name, Avril Lavigne, I don't know, as Heather. They're all great. Omid Ali also really damn good. The characters are really not deep, but they're funny and wacky enough to take some entertainment out of them, and with some pretty enjoyable voice acting. I say that they're fine as they are, really. On a side note, the score by Rupert Gregson-Williams is pretty good also. Man, DreamWorks does seem to have a thing for Rupert and Harry's score. I mean, their music is pretty good, but God, they really like their music a lot. I mean, who would blame them? Their music is legit wonderful. Yeah, it's not great, but it's good. It's just good. Over the Hedge may not be the most original film from DreamWorks, but it's a pretty wacky, funny, and enjoyable slapstick film on its own. I think adults might think it's okay. Kids will probably enjoy it the most, but it's not awful. It has its own enjoyable moments, but not perfect. The animation has a style to it that works. The characters are a little bit annoying, but pretty funny for the most part. Voice acting's solid, some good laughs, and the story's interesting enough, I suppose, and it's decently well written and all that, but it is insanely predictably cliched. It can get a little overly tediously annoying. The animation is quite dated from 2006. And the two main characters are honestly not that memorable. They're just kind of But besides that, it's a good film. Not great, just good. Not like, oh, it's so good. It's more like not great good. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you've got kids and they want to see a talking animal movie, put any other film on, Madagascar, Ratatouille. But if they're interested in this, then it wouldn't hurt to show them. It's a decent film overall, but just nothing DreamWorks amazing. It's better than Shark Tale. It's better than Home, which is a film that Tim Johnson also directed as well, but it will never beat Ants. So I'll give it a 7.2 out of 10. Good film, and it does hold up relatively okay, but nothing amazing. Don't expect How to Train Your Dragon or anything like that from this film. Whew, Over the Hedge. Wow, what an experience that was. I do remember watching it when I was young. I don't think I saw it in the cinema. It must have been on DVD. Pretty sure. So next up, I'm going to be talking about a couple of more films that's on my wish list right now. I'm going to talk about The Red Turtle. I'm going to be talking about Let Me In, which has Chloe Grace Moretz. I'm going to talk about Gary with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. And Sound of Metal, when I get to that. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. And what do you think of Over the Hedge? Is it good, bad, decent? Do you want to see it? Let me know below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And until next time, bye for now.